how to generate a whip to create the most leverage to optimizing what this flow feels like. Now I'm gonna share with you guys something that will probably blow your mind. The speed at which you would be able to move your hands from here to here is much slower than the speed of your feet going from here to here. A huge mistake I see a lot of swimmers make. How do you know how big your kick should be? Today's top swimmers are able to move through the water at unbelievable speeds, and the best swimmers are able to generate leverage using their entire bodies so they can cut through the water like never before. So what I want to do is show you guys a few of the hidden secrets that the best swimmers in the world are using so that way they can move through the water more efficiently and with more speed. I guarantee if you watch this video until the very end, I'm going to share with you some of the secrets, how to generate a whip to create the most leverage that you've never thought was possible before. Now remember, underwater dolphin kicking is like the fifth stroke of swimming. It's literally a new invention that was popularized about 30 to 40 years ago, and it became so popular and swimmers were using it so much that they actually created a new rule in swimming called the 15-meter rule. So that way in freestyle, butterfly, and backstroke, you're actually restricted for how far you can move, because if we didn't have that rule, swimmers would spend the entire length of the pool underwater and it would turn into an underwater dolphin kick race. And that's why this is so important. Now, if you think about the potential, like how much faster can you actually get? The fastest a human can go above the surface of the water doing freestyle is 8 kilometers an hour. We're talking like less than 5 miles per hour. Underneath the surface of the water, we can get closer to 10 kilometers per hour so far. I think some of you watching this video, if you're a little bit younger, you guys have the potential to swim even faster because you're learning this and developing your bodies at such a young age. We've got the power boat moving 200 kilometers an hour, or a jet ski 100 kilometers an hour. A torpedo can move at 400 kilometers per hour, or a sailfish 130 kilometers per hour. And the reason why this is so important is because this is more similar to how the human body will move through the water. We can't strap on a massive engine to ourselves, and so the best we can do is learn from our aquatic creature friends, how do we move through the water so efficiently? And to better demonstrate this, I have a curve right here. This is not just any curve, this is a sine graph. And what we have here are a few different parts. I'm gonna draw a dotted line that cuts through the middle here. When we have this high point right here and this high point right here, this right here represents our wavelength. And so the wavelength is here. Now, in terms of the time duration that it takes to go from the top of the wave to the top of the next wave, this is our period, and it's measured in time. Now, here's why this is so important when it comes to swimming fast. Because if you're trying to move quickly through the water, underwater specifically, you need to know how to manipulate your body to replicate this type of movement. Because if you think about how a fish is able to move so fast through the water, a fish is moving through the water so quickly because it can leverage its entire body length. Now you might be thinking to yourself, okay, so I want to be kicking dolphin kick from my fingertips all the way through my toes. Got it. Sounds good. Let me click off the video. This is wrong. That's not how it works, because our bodies are not engineered. We're not designed the same way as a fish. If you think about a fish, the way a fish is moving through the water, if you were to look at it and look down, a fish is technically moving on its side. And yes, we as humans can do the same thing. We can go on our side, we can go on our right side, we can go on our left side. But if you look at how a fish actually moves, a fish is almost symmetrical, just like this graph, the entire way. And so if there's anything you take away from this video, it's know that if you want to swim fast underwater, you want to replicate this type of pattern, but you also have to keep in mind that you're a human and you don't have the same flexibility or range of motion that a fish does. If you were to create a perfect creature that can move through the water, it would be able to replicate propulsion along this type of a movement. But because we don't have that flexibility and range of motion, different parts of the kick become more and less important. Also, different parts of your body, from your hands through your core down to your knees and your ankles and your toes, have different leverage points, and that's what unlocks the true speed. So let's break it down piece by piece. I already talked a little bit about the amplitude. There's certainly a size of kick. So the amplitude is measured from the top of the wave until this point right here. To keep things simple for swimming, we're not going to do a physics lecture. This is the amplitude. We're gonna draw a dotted line right here, right? And we're gonna call this whole thing the amplitude. Technically this is 2 amplitude, but stay with me here. So this is our amplitude. Now you might be seeing different swimmers of different abilities, and some have a really small kick and some have a really big kick. And so it's like, well, how do you know how big your kick should be? And at the end of the video, I'm actually gonna share with you a few different drills that you can do to incorporate these skills and how you can find out exactly how to optimize your kick, size, tempo, speed, and incorporate it into sets. But first, let's go back to this amplitude right here. So this is our amplitude. We need to make sure that we are not kicking too small, that we're not getting the propulsive benefit of our body moving through the water, creating this undulation moment, right? We need to be able to create this undulation. And so if our kick is too small, right? If the kick is just kind of like this big, right? This would be too small because we're not able to generate propulsion. Conversely, if our kick was so big and we were like this, right, we would end up creating more drag, because remember, the water is 800 times more dense than air. So if your amplitude is too large, you're gonna create too much propulsion. And the amplitude is not just measured by how much your hips are moving, it's measured by how much your entire body is moving, how much your whole body is displacing the water. Now I'm gonna share with you guys something that will probably blow your mind when I talk about how we generate this kick. A huge mistake I see a lot of swimmers make is thinking that their entire body is equal. From your hands all the way through your toes, you can generate the same kind of propulsion with the same level of, wavelength and also period. Remember, period is technically time. And this is probably the biggest variable that I see swimmers screwing up in how they try and modify their underwater dolphin kick. So let's go back to the amplitude and I'll tie it together to the speed. So when it comes to the amplitude, we want to make sure we have a proper size amplitude that allows us to create propulsion, but we don't create drag. Now this comes a little bit through trial and error and strength and doing the drills I'm gonna talk about at the end, but just know that there is a sweet spot, and you can certainly kick bigger and you can do drills to feel this range of motion, and you can kick smaller, but it becomes inefficient when you kick that small. So that's our amplitude right there. Now let's talk about our length, right? This is our wavelength. And so you can slow down your tempo because there's actually a ratio, a formula that combines our wavelength and our period. And so if we take less time between kicks, if we accelerate the tempo, that means the wavelength is going to start to shrink. If we have a much longer period, meaning longer time, we're now increasing the wavelength. So to put some numbers behind this, let's say, hypothetically, we have a 50-meter Olympic-sized pool, and we're gonna take 25 kicks to get to the other side of the pool. Forget about pushing off the wall or diving in. So that means we're moving 2 meters per kick, per dolphin kick. Now, if you put a time to that, let's say, per dolphin kick, it takes us 1 second. So we're able to move 1 second, and it takes 1 second between every 2 meters of dolphin kick. So we're gonna get across this 50-meter pool in 25 seconds. That's pretty quick because it means we're moving 2 meters per second. Now, if you're watching this and you're a pretty good swimmer, you probably can't swim a 50 underwater in 25 seconds across a 50-meter pool. If you can, I appreciate you watching this, and this is gonna be for you at the very end when we talk about the whip. You're gonna know exactly what I'm talking about. For those of you who are not as fast at swimming, most of you watching this video, maybe it takes you 45 seconds, 50 seconds, a minute. Maybe you have no chance of going under a minute in a 50-meter kick. That's fine. The important thing to remember is that if you increase your tempo, if you cannot maintain the integrity and the quality of your kick, meaning if you can't maintain this type of flow motion, your kick is going to become inefficient. And so when you're thinking about how do I improve my dolphin kick, it really comes back to optimizing what this flow feels like. And potentially the most important thing from a technique perspective, because we've been doing a lot of math and science here, physics, it's the way that you kick in both directions. Remember, the reason why a black marlin and a sailfish can go so fast underwater is because there's very little inefficiency in its kick across the whole wavelength. The whole wavelength of its motion, it's generating propulsion over here, generating propulsion over here, over here, over here, over here, over here. at every point in the kick. And so in swimming, we refer to it as the upkick and the downkick. You have two sides of your body that you can generate propulsion, right? We're not gonna generate propulsion like this. This is very difficult. This is when we have poor technique in freestyle. We do the wiggle, the squiggle worm. In dolphin kick, we're normally kicking in this plane of motion. So we're either kicking with the front of our core, which would be our abs down through our hip flexors and our quads down to our toes, or on the reverse side, we have our lower back, glutes, hamstrings, all the way through our calves and then our ankles. And so if you think about optimizing your technique, it's ensuring that you're able to generate propulsion in every single direction. And so the most efficient kickers are able to have both the power phase of the kick and the recovery almost equal to each other. Because if you have one side that's way more powerful than the other, well then you're basically missing 50% of the propulsive nature of the kick. This is why sailfish can go so fast, because there's no dead spot. The thing is literally just bulleting across underneath the water, which is amazing. And this brings me to my final point here, and then we'll talk about training, which is the flow. What is the flow state? The flow state is when you have a good awareness underneath the water of how big amplitude your kick should be, the wavelength, the tempo, and you can control this, and you have a very good connection with the water. We call this the feel of the water. When we're swimming freestyle and you have a nice high elbow catch, or you're doing sculling drills, you can do the same thing with your entire body. You have a really good feel underwater when you can manipulate all of these different variables just by instinct. And the only way that's gonna happen is if you practice. Now there's a difference between intentional practice and just doing a lot of underwater dolphin kick. And I will say, one of the biggest mistakes I've seen both coaches and athletes make is just kicking more. If you're more intentional with your kicking, you can actually get a lot more out of it in terms of developing your feel of the water, and you might not need to actually do that much more underwater dolphin kick. I first want to show you a set that you can do, or that you can at least think about incorporating, that leverages all of these different skills, and then I'll finish with the whip, which is really the secret of why some swimmers are much faster than other swimmers when it comes to doing the underwater dolphin kick. So let me give you a quick example of a set. Now, I did mention the flow, and I actually love the flow drill. So let's say we did 4 25s flow drill, and the way this drill works is where you're gonna be in a near streamlined position on the surface of the water, your arms at 11 and 1, and you're just simply going to dolphin kick on the surface of the water. So let's actually make this 825s, so I can give you a variation here. So we're gonna go 825s flow drill, and you're gonna go, the first one, streamline on your stomach on the surface of the water. Remember, you're trying to create pressure across the entire range of your body. So you're pressing your chest down, your hips come up, and your butt literally gets dry out of the water. When you do this on your stomach, you can use a snorkel, but your hands, your fingertips are literally just centimeters under the surface of the water, right on the surface, and your butt should literally get dry on every single kick. Now remember, you're not trying to press your chest too far down, you don't want your butt coming too far up, but you want to feel this and feel constant pressure in both directions. So on the first one, you're going to do it on your stomach. Then the second one, you're gonna flip it over onto your side. So now you're generating propulsion, and this plane of motion makes it maybe easier to develop this feel. On the third one, you're gonna flip over to your other side, and your entire body is literally facing the wall as your body undulates. You don't wanna really bend your knees. Your knees are bending a little bit, but it should feel like a flow, right? Because if you bend your knees, you no longer look like this sine graph. And then on the fourth one, you're gonna flip it over onto your back, and now you're actually gonna put your hands in streamline, and you're gonna really engage your core and really work this undulation and really feel the connection through your core into your hip flexors, quads, and on the reverse in your hamstrings. So you're gonna go 2 rounds of that. On your stomach, right side, left side, on your back, 2 rounds of that. Now we're ready for a big set. We're gonna go 4 75s, and what we're gonna do is, let's pretend we're in a 25-meter pool. On each 25, we're gonna build our dolphin kicks, meaning we're gonna take more dolphin kicks on every single wall. So if you're a more advanced swimmer, on maybe the first 25, you're gonna take 4 dolphin kicks off the wall in streamline. On the second 25, you're gonna take 5 dolphin kicks, and then you're gonna take 6 dolphin kicks on the third 25. Now, if you're like a pro level swimmer, maybe this is 7, 8, 9, of course you don't wanna pass 15 meters, and then you can make this more interesting because we're gonna go 3 rounds of this, and then we're gonna do a 1-100 easy freestyle. we're gonna go free. You can do the same set butterfly, you can do the same set backstroke. And so we're gonna go 3 rounds. So on the first round, we're gonna do it all natural. Then the second round, we're gonna add a piece of equipment. Maybe we're gonna add paddles, maybe we're gonna add fins. And on the third round, we're gonna add another piece of equipment. So I love to do this set in three rounds. First round, I call it all natural. Second round, we're gonna go with fins. And the third round, we're gonna go fins and paddles. We're also going to descend 1 through 4, and we're gonna descend by round. And so what this is going to do is you're going to develop the feel of the water because you're really intentional. You're going halfway under the water. If you're just beginner, maybe start with 1 dolphin kick, 2, 3, 4, and work your way up. You can do this with 50s, you can do this however. These are just a few different ways that you can build this into your training so that way you can get the most out of your dolphin kick. Now I promise you guys, this is the ultimate secret of how you generate leverage and what the fastest swimmers in the world are doing. When you break it apart and you put a human body on this, so a human body might actually look like this. This is the feet, and we're gonna say this is the hands, okay? This is the hands. This is the head right here. And so the hands are right here. This is the head, and then this would be like the waist, and then these are the feet. So, right, so kind of visualize this. Now you might be looking at this and you're like, oh my God, well, the human body doesn't actually move like this. And that's exactly the point that I'm trying to make. The speed at which you would be able to move your hands from here to here is much slower than the speed of your feet going from here to here. And so our bodies are not created equal across the length. And so if you're a taller person, yes, you have an advantage because the longer your frame, the more leverage you're going to create. Of course, assuming your streamline is really good. You could have someone who's much smaller, much shorter, have a way better dolphin kick, assuming their streamline's better, right? But if you look at the fastest swimmers in the world, what's the difference? They're able to generate a lot more speed at the end of this wavelength because you can move your feet much faster than you'd be able to move your hands. And so what this means, when you're dolphin kicking, you do not want to move your hands very much. Sure, you can point out, oh, look at Caleb Dressel, look at Jordan Crooks. Look at the physics. There is only a certain amount of movement your hands can reasonably do in this period of time. Your feet, on the other hand, can generate a lot more speed, thrust, and most importantly, whip. And that is the secret to a fast underwater dolphin kick. Being able to find the right balance of just how much each part of your body is going to move through this range of motion, and then having the most propulsive effect at the very, very end of the kick. And so whether you look at someone like a Jordan Crooks or a Caleb Dressel or even like a Michael Phelps, they all have very different levels of hand movement, and it works for them. Every single one of the people that I just mentioned can be faster at their underwater dolphin kick. And it really comes down to playing with this. And so the ways that you can play with this are doing sets just like this. And they do that, and that's why they're the best swimmers in the world. They're doing drills like this every single time they swim. They're setting smart goals around how many dolphin kicks they need to take at each segment of every single race than they do. So if you want to level up your swimming, you've got to have a game plan. You got to make sure you're thinking about these things, but don't overthink it. Keep it simple. And check out this video if you want to take your swimming to the next level.